Yeah, all right.
Get started.
So, you know,
Heavy
I've got
water.
a copy of another year.
Good to see you all. It seems like it's been a while. I have been told ahead of time that Betsy, Meg, Tig, and Bill will not be here. So I don't know if anybody's heard from anybody else. But let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, okay, we got a quorum. So we're all set. And we'll begin with the agenda. And Christina just reminded me that we apparently did not approve the minutes from July 10. Now, that's not listed on the agenda, but if you have read them or remember reading them and so forth, we can take care of that in spite of the fact it's not on the agenda. So, or we can list it next time formally. It's up to you and Carly. I'm prepared to go ahead and vote.
Move to accept the minutes
Okay, from July 10.
July 10.
Okay. Second. Right. Thanks. Right, those in favor. Appears to be unanimous. All right. And then the second set of minutes is from the last meeting of July 24. Any discussion? Jesse?
To accept the minutes from July 24.
Okay, Jesse, thanks.
I'm abstaining. I didn't attend, so.
So my,
Okay,
We gotta
that's
get
fine.
a
First we need to decide. First we need to decide. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Kathy, thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? Then we'll take it to a vote. Those in favor of adoption. So
Do we need? Oh, when my assistant said.
so we have only 3
Word.
pay
I think
changes.
everybody else might be abstaining.
Well, how many are abstaining because of absence or? Okay,
Want to wait on those?
I'll say, what, Jesse, if you would withdraw your motion,
All right, I'll withdraw.
we'll take it up next time. Okay? All right.
Need my withdrawal of second?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So if we don't approve the minutes, do we have to have the meeting again?
Yeah.
twice, actually, I have to do it twice.
We didn't have a forum on the 24th though, right?
I forget.
I don't think we did.
Yeah.
Christina, the question is, do we even have a quorum?
I thought we did.
I thought we did.
I thought we just
Thought we
made
did.
it.
I thought you just made it. Yeah, let me look at what I have for, who all was here.
I've only missed one meeting. So
Yeah.
done well. That was Paul's fault.
So we had 1, 2, well, Tig didn't vote, so did we count her?
Yeah.
Nope. We had 8 present.
That's a quorum. 8 voting members present. Okay.
Surely.
We just don't have 8 to vote to approve them tonight.
Right. We're
Because the
taking
others
turns
were.
not showing.
Right.
Okay, father's texted me. All right,
Just-
we'll be good tonight.
Just ignore them.
I tried. We'll defer them to the next time around.
Sounds good.
Next up, survey results update. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, sure. I think all of you, I wrote a memo, I think that I dropped in last Sunday night, totally was not working on Sunday night.
Yes.
Which is here. Just to reiterate a couple things, I encourage you to read it if you haven't. I also, just as a matter of refresher, included the memo from the red line exercise that we did as a group before the survey results came out. So the idea here is to just keep kind of inching forward with some of the exercises that you're doing in person in your breakout groups. I did have a couple people email individually with some suggestions on some small tweaks to the memo, which I'm going to make, and I'll just send it back out to you guys. They weren't of anything too consequential, and I thought they were fair observations. So I'll just send you guys an edited version probably next week. And, you know, like I said in the email, this is our primarily, you know, we're using your notes and everything, but it's ultimately our staff's take. So, you know, I specifically write in the email, just in case, you know, there's a forward request or there's other people watching activity, you know, this isn't you guys voting on things and saying this is just our observation. So, I think it's important when I do drop this work in, just to frame it the appropriate way, because this is just us as consultants doing our job while you guys make the ultimate decisions. Steve and I had a conversation a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Just about some of the finer details about how the survey was laid out. I think examples where sometimes the blue and the red were positive and negative and vice versa. And then there's a couple open-ended questions that we're easily going to aggregate and put into a visualization. So I'm calling it a publishable draft will be done for the committee in 2 weeks. I don't need any necessarily action from you guys after that, except for what you decide. So that's the update. None of the data is going to change. You guys have the latest raw data I dropped in. That's closed and finished. So when you get our final version, there's not going to be too much new information on it. We're just going to get it so it presents consistently, a little less confusing. And we're internally doing a little bit of cross tabulation with demographics just to see if it's worthwhile. Because I think we can agree. It was heavy on 55 plus.
Yeah.
And so we're probably going to pull some of that out, and I'll address that a little bit further in the next agenda item. But that's the update for us. And I think Bridget, I think there's one threshold question that you guys can answer for us is how did we frame in our meeting about as far as it being an appendix? We can go 2 ways with it. We can make it like with InDesign. So essentially a final copy that would be comparable to a comp plan design. So very polished. Or as a committee, do we view a comprehensive plan doesn't typically have like full survey results at the end? Doesn't mean you don't have to. But I think that's the one piece of direction as a committee. If you guys want to talk about it and vote on it and give me direction on. I think the 2 options would be InDesign. That would be by InDesign, I just mean that's just a program that makes things look fancy. That would be part of the comp plan, which is a little untraditional. Or do we want it that it sits on the website and it's nice and sharp and you can publish it under this committee's work and then people can access it.
Can we refer to it as an appendix to a polished plan without necessarily blending the two?
I think that's totally up to you. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for. You guys choose. I think we'll do whatever. So, yeah.
If we publish it on the website, we could reference the website
Yeah, certainly.
potentially.
Yeah, I think as long as you guys agree and just tell me what to do, we'll do it. InDesign is more labor and, as far as a published version is more labor intensive for us, but
The biggest question is, do we want like a Ferrari? Or are we okay with like the reliable like Honda? So-
Honda.
Yeah.
Does it change the outcome?
and I promise I won't say anything after this. The only other thing is it might be worth actually making that decision once you do round 2 of the engagement. Because then you actually have the entire picture of your public engagement, and then maybe this discussion makes more sense. We're still gonna produce a Honda. And then if you want us to upgrade the Honda, then we could do that.
What is on the website right now?
I don't think much. We don't have a link to the results right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
nothing whatsoever.
Yep.
No.
Exactly.
So my
On
thoughts,
some level, this is new ground. Some of us have been involved with plans
Yeah.
before for me, Peter, Steve. This is the first time an electronically digitized version is available. So I think my take is the published piece of paper should have the addendum perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's something you guys can talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Definitely want a published one so
Yeah.
that it gets put into the library and even
So
historical.
if you guys want to vote on it or give me, so I'm hearing that we might want
It's just
to,
a thought tonight.
yeah, Honda Accord.
Yeah.
So, do you have illustrations of the 2 by any chance? Would you?
No, this is my public engagement exercise. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can send you, like, Steve, I could send you something, like an example of something that's the Cadillac versus, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed either.
Well, see what a Cadillac did 40 of us. It might be easier.
Yeah.
But I think I would like next time to at least after review, vote on the publishable draft of the survey results themselves.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that they in turn can go online.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the commentary may follow.
Mhm.
Be blended or.
Yeah.
Add collectors.
Yep, and that aligns exactly what we're thinking. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay.
What's the you referenced doing a little bit of demographic breakdown
Mhm.
specific related to age. Were there any other things you were going to note? And I'm specifically interested in like the income, like.
That's a good question. I'm not Rick and Lucy are doing it right now, so
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. I just know, I think actually I listened to your group quite a bit as far as, because we were cross tabulating a few results. And they're at least worth it, with the results being skewed somewhat, it's worth acknowledging that and doing some cross tabulation, so. Yeah, and again, to be very clear with everybody here, once you're done with different exercises, we can revisit all that, right? The data's not going away. So you guys aren't locking yourself into anything,
Yeah.
right? I'm just trying to get a feel for staff wise. You know, what I'm hearing is you guys want a nice sharp result that will be on the website. If we upgrade that, we can. And if we do some cross tabulation and as a committee, you say, hey, we actually, after doing this round 2 of public engagement, we want more, then let's just do more. Yeah. So.
One suggestion I had for Paul in our conversation recently, you'll recall the question toward the end of demographics regarding the zip code of your destination if you commute to work.
Yeah.
So we had several pages of zip codes that were all shuffled together and not all clumped together. And it was very hard to extract any useful information by looking at that. So I suggested that all of the same zip codes be sorted together. So we see which town or city attracts the largest commuters and then descend
Yeah.
down to the least.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
instead of having several pages of random zip codes, we have
One chart.
several, let's say 3 tables. Zip code, let's pick one of downtown Portland zip codes.
Yeah,
whatever
it's
it
got
happens to be.
5, right?
And then, number of responses and then identification of what the zip code is, because the code standing alone isn't.
Right.
Right.
So those 3 columns will shrink the thing down by several pages and be much more useful. But
I was
we'll see how
gonna
we-
ask about that tonight, because I've been looking at that before the meeting, and I was wondering about like a heat map or something
Yeah, we can-
attached
Yeah.
to the road network.
And please don't be shy just emailing me directly and asking for that. I
But
mean,
then my question I was gonna ask is, as I was looking at it, I was like, oh, we didn't ask where people are starting, and Cumberland is fine, but if you plot everyone from Cumberland Center and
Yeah.
half the respondents are in the 4 side, it's gonna throw off kind of our travel data.
Right.
so we have a subscription, which I haven't presented to you guys yet, but we have a subscription to a service called Placer AI, which is all third-party cell phone data. And we can track using cell phone data. We can track paths to work, how many people per day. That's nothing that we've unrolled with you guys yet, but we can do some
Like
pretty.
Candy Crush. They
We
track your
can, yeah, we
location,
can do some
so-
pretty scary stuff with it. So I'll start playing around with it and show you guys some stuff.
Well, and we do have the demographic data,
Yeah.
that says which neighborhood and
Yeah.
town you live in, so we can.
Oh, we could do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can look at like the most well-traveled, and you can see the most common, like, are people going to the Rusty Lane? We can see, when you leave the Rusty Lantern, where are the top 5 destinations when you leave the Rusty Lantern?
Sorry, this is just because on Streetlight, you can see if people are close enough together, if they're riding a bus together. Can you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the pedestrians and yes, the answer is yes. But Evan, if you want to email me some of those thoughts, there's nothing preventing my staff from working on that, right? Even if,
Yeah, I was thinking as we're talking about the transportation stuff in here,
Yeah.
that might be helpful.
and again, that's one of those things, like, as a subcommittee, say, hey, transportation subcommittee is curious about this.
Yeah.
And then I can just pass it along. And, again, that's then ultimately up to you guys, how that goes into the plan or if it doesn't. But by all means, don't be afraid to do those sorts of things. And if they're overwhelming, I'll let you guys know.
Sounds good.
I would like to diminish the possibility that people
Right.
are believing that Big Brother is watching.
Yeah, that's
I
gone.
don't want to go there.
Well, I don't tell them it's cell phone data. It's just, yeah, it's like pretty bad.
Ourselves in hot water. We should try that.
When I buy an auto part, the next time I go on Facebook and I see an ad from that manufacturer to buy more parts, I know there's something.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, or if
Take
you
it
just
like-
talk to your husband about it,
Yeah.
and then there's an ad. That's weird.
But a good example is with
Yeah.
Fry Island, I just showed them how many people showed up at the marina on 4th of July weekend, right? Because the locals are confused of all they know. 32 people live in Fry Island. Turns out 6,800 cell phones came through Fry Island Marina on the 4th of July weekend.
Wow.
And so it's pretty powerful stuff with, yeah.
We used to go out there.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a good bit for cell phones on the boat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and it was the whole weekend.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine had his phone out last night and there was a plane flying overhead and so my son said, I wonder where that's going. And he says,
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, right. Okay, Paul, so we have a handout?
Yeah, I have a presentation and handout. If you're cool with going to the next agenda item.
Was there a question?
I know I mentioned it, but I'm a former high school teacher, so I'm not gonna give you a handout yet, because if I give you the handout, it's gonna be like the comments on the survey. You guys are gonna get lost in the comments of the survey, so I'll give you the handout in a couple minutes. So this is, special thanks to Callie and Christian. There is a different version of this that has Christian's face all over it, but I forgot to give it to Bridget. But Christian says he misses you, and he did half of this with Callie. So, with that, I just want to, talk about what phase 2 of public engagement could look like. Like everything else, these are suggestions to get your juices flowing, and then you guys make decisions. But we pulled this from other comp plan activity we've done with neighboring communities. I'll go over the slide deck, and then I'll actually show you some of the actual exercises that other communities have done in this pack. So with that, just as a refresher, this was a comp plan timeline that I believe the first time you ever saw us, this was what we put up, and it may have been in the proposal that was accepted by the town council. And this is where we are. So we've been together nearing 5 months here. And if you notice, there is a call out for public events at the 5-month-ish mark. And you'll notice the lines. The good news is the lines down below, it looks like we're doing those. We're reviewing the existing plan. We're doing mapping and data analysis. We're engaging the community through the survey. And we're kind of starting to transition into, notice how preparing the plan is on the doorstep, so to speak. But this is about the time where public engagement round 2 is what we're calling it for simplicity. The events, the in-person stuff, this is when it would happen. So, activities, you might be able to tell us is Christian's language. So, one of the things are people are contradictory and we contain multitudes. Surveys by their nature, like put people in their corners immediately, right? I mean, every time we reacted to the survey where there's clearly tax sensitive people, and then there's clearly people that are really concerned about pedestrians, and there's clearly people that are concerned about growth, right? And so all of a sudden, the nature of the survey is we almost put ourselves in an impossible spot because we've already put our residents in corners. We already have. And so in that framework, round 2 should be like, okay, we've done that, but let's actually focus on bringing them together, right? And let's see if we can observe them working together, even though knowing privately, those types of corners are all in the room, right? So that should be like an overarching, really real goal for us as a committee. Meaningful, respectful, and useful takeaways. That's what we're trying to do. So number 1 is probably one of the more common things that you'll see. It's a visual preference survey. I'm gonna just stand up for 1 second. Visual preference survey. Typically people get dots, and they'll put dots along things that appeal to them. Or they'll put dots on areas that fit a certain description. You'll be able to read this more when I show the packet. Sometimes you'll do different color dots. You'll do green, yellow, and red dots, right? So you can specifically say, I hate this, I love this, I'm unsure about this. Typically, these pictures that you have people selecting, that's something as a committee that you guys want to task us with. Like, we want pictures around Cumberland, or we want pictures that aren't Cumberland that show what a 15-unit apartment complex looks like, or something that clearly shows what commercial on the bottom and apartments on the top looks like, or what have you. Those are the types of inputs as a committee you should decide for us if we choose to do this. And then this is the type of interactive activity that usually is pretty successful, and you'll find that people start actually maybe agreeing on more than they think they might. Okay, so the next one, zoning exercise. We've done a little bit of this. This is a little bit more boring, a little bit more meat and potatoes, right? You have a typical zoning map. The survey had that. When I say boring, I'm just saying it's a little bit less standing up and interacting with each other, a little bit more on the ground, so to speak. And you'll notice it's typically paired with education. You guys have had a lot of education. Some of you are, it's old hat. Some of you it's brand new. When you bring the community together to work together. The less you lecture them, probably better. So sometimes this activity can fall flat if you don't effectively kind of explain what you're doing, right? And you might have a bunch of people that don't even know what, RF5 means or Village Center 2 means or whatever it happens to be. Public discussions, look at this handsome man. Look how much fun they're having.
Choose them, show them a different picture.
Yeah, right. They've been milking that picture.
Yeah.
You could lead discussions according to your subcommittees, right? It's free flowing. It might be a way I wouldn't recommend this be the only thing you do, but it might be a way to get a little bit more face time. You could also divide off in different areas that aren't subcommittees. It could be different chapters, different demographics, what you choose, but it could be a little bit more of a free flowing activity. Something you could also do with this, you could ask us. We, in Cape Elizabeth, we did an exercise similar to this with, everybody had an easel and a whiteboard, and I brought in people that weren't Cape residents, and they actually weren't even GP poggers. So I brought in a couple of business owners. I brought in a couple council members from Scarborough, one from South Portland, just so it's just somebody that's really indifferent, but involved enough to at least know what they're hearing and not surprised by maybe some of the conflict or some of the comments or whatever. Value judgments. This is a big one, and we're going to show a little bit more on this, but exercises that have things, and Evan, I think you talked about literally maybe the first day, where do you live? What do you love about what you're doing? We talked about having an open-ended pin working online, something similar to that. Next one. This is a big one, particularly with the surveys. Consider doing maybe a night or two that's around a certain demographic. Do you have a family night, right? Do you have a recreation night? If you look at the survey results, and say, man, I really feel like we didn't get to X, Y, and Z. Why not have a night that encourages their input, right? That doesn't mean you still can't do a senior night, right? But maybe it might be a little bit more strategic on, let's get people in the room that might share the same values, right? And then, or perhaps you have a senior and a family night and you intermingle by maybe 1 hour they're alone and the second hour they intermingle or what have you. There's all sorts of different ways, but with the particular survey results, if you want to really say, okay, let's reach that demo, might be a way to think about it. Catch people in their daily lives. Maybe one of this is not swinging open the doors of town hall, and maybe it's going to an event. Maybe it's setting up a table, or maybe it's piggybacking on something that's already existing, but not in such a way where you're just surveying some work, because your surveying energy is almost, it's wearing thin, I'd imagine. And of course, try to grab people that don't work 9 to 5. Usually public engagement does a pretty good job of that because we're usually doing it in. With that, now I'll hand it out. Because it's hard to see all that. So I'll hand the packets up. So these packets have essentially 3 different areas on them. The first one is Durham, and you'll excuse me, I use black and white because I started doing that because the photo quality. It's your money I'm spending.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the first few pages I'll walk you through. So there's slides, but I think it's a little bit easier to walk through the packet. The first 2 pages are Durham. So you'll notice here in Durham, there's a picture that's usually nice and pretty. And you see the picture clearly, fire station, town office. Notice in Durham, there's not a whole lot next to the fire station, the town office. And you really get an idea how the current roadway separates the plots of land and the possible uses. I mean, you'll say, what is your ideal vision for the Durham Town Center? And then it will say, and it says, hey, please include nice to haves. That's important, right? Include aspirational things. Other thoughts, sketches, descriptions, anything that you want on this space. This could be a very big map that everybody gets. It doesn't have to be small. It could be very large. They could work with partners to do it. They could draw. They could do whatever they have to do. If you turn the page, there's another example of the same exercise, but it's just a little less busy, right? So if you wanted to, there's times where we've actually used Legos or other blocks to do stuff like this. Or you might actually get something like, it seems silly, but you might get something like Play-Doh or clay, where people might be able to build something up and actually, make something on something that's very blank. And then on that next page where you just see these 4 columns here, right on the back page, or right here. Typically you give people pennies or 10 pennies or 50 pennies or Hershey Kisses or M&Ms or what have you, and you ask them to resource allocate, right? Hey, you have 10 pennies to put into these columns. Where would you put them? And note what that tries to do is you're starting to talk about trade-offs instead of saying, I don't want this, or we must have this, right? And so maybe I put 7 pennies or 6 pennies in one column, but I'm starting to recognize maybe I should throw 1 penny at least in each column, right? Maybe not, but these are the types of exercises that start getting a little bit more granular, and it gives you as a comp plan committee a little bit more license to, you know, to say, hey, what's the actual intent behind some of people's thoughts and feelings? The back page here is super fun. It is the Durham Mad Libs. So everybody remembers Mad Libs as a kid, right? What I like most about Durham is, and then you have to put a noun. That's because, and then you have to put a description. That would help. If I could change something about the town, it would be now, right? We'll see how many times people can write taxes, right? So, but this is a great example of, you know, it's a different level of thinking, it's a different input, all that sort of stuff. So these we actually did with Durham. Durham, as you guys know, is pretty rural, small town, super successful. They adopted a downtown, at least something small to what to do with this property that we're actually talking about. And very divided in the beginning. And ultimately, you know, it was, of course, it was scaled back from the original grand vision, but we moved something forward that was decent. Next is Portland Road. So before we talk about Portland Road, if you just go to that map right on the side so you can see it, you were looking at the section of, just so you guys know, you're looking at the section of Saco that's the Aquaboggin and
Automobiles.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the Saco, Automile, Funtown, and Aquaboggin. So to orient yourself on what we're doing, Saco is in the process of essentially saying, what can we do to make Portland Road better? So that stretch of Portland Road, as you know, is the Auto Mile, 2 amusement parks. Well, like on the other side of the street, there's a whole lot of nothing really. And so there's been one developer that put in like 320 apartment units tucked away. I think that was Chamberlain. But then there's not much else. But you'll notice here, it gives people more of a spectrum. So you ask them, if you look at the left side of this, it says spread housing units out across a big area. More disruptive to undeveloped land, and then concentrate housing within smaller areas, more obvious density, right? But now you're starting to allow to kind of give yourself a sliding spectrum, right? And maybe you're a little bit more left, right, or center than you thought, or what have you. More convenient automobile connections, more pleasant pedestrian experience, separate uses, mixed uses together. You could do this for different parts of the town too. This is specifically for Portland Road. As you guys know, Portland Road is essentially Route 1. People are bombing through it, but now all of a sudden there's residents on there too, right? So like, what are we going to do? We're going to do with a weird mix of residential and commercial.
60 years ago, that was all high value farmland.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's interesting because then they also have tiny houses for seniors on one side, which is it's a pretty cute little development, you know, and it's about some of that farmland that's still in existence. And so it's just there's no rhyme or reason to it. Right? You have big multi-units, you have tiny houses for seniors, then you have Aquaboggin.
And you have all those houses next to an amusement park at
Yep,
Aquaboggin, which
yep,
is hilarious.
This is the same thing, the resource allocation. So you'll see we did the same thing for Saco Portland Road. We gave people 25 pennies or M&Ms or what have you and said, you gotta allocate these accordingly. Go ahead and do it, right? And that was an exercise. You can do it with partners. You could team up people that, you know, might be coming from 2 different parts of town. Those are ways to maybe get people to start talking and being more productive together. So that's what we're doing for Saco. And then if you turn the back page, you'll see, there's one more for Saco, excuse me. Some pretty basic renderings with some smiley faces saying, hey, which one of these appeals to you the most, right? You know, I think we can all agree the top's probably not going to happen in Cumberland anytime soon, but as a guy who lives in Scarborough, that's happening in Scarborough. Literally, that might be a rendering from the downs. Looking at it. Again, those are the types of things you guys could ask us, like, what do we want for, you know, starting pictures or what have you. And then lastly, we are doing this last page right here is we are doing priority centers. So in our geeky transportation Connect 2045 investment strategy is we're expected to essentially identify what we're called priority centers along Route 1 and what can we do with these priority centers. So we've been going to different parts of Cumberland County that have stretches of Route 1 that need some reimagining. It's literally called Reimagining Route 1. And we're giving them Legos and other buildings and actually having them build things and have them say, you know, what uses do you imagine for these buildings, residential, commercials? How many stories is the tallest building? All those sorts of things. We're letting them design these things from the ground. So that was a lot. And I think just if were you following me?
Hi.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, here's a great example. That's a resident. That is somebody that's somebody that came to one of our public. And we could get more detailed than Legos, but just, you know, you could actually say, hey, the red Lego is residential. In fact, this is what we did. The red Legos are residential, the blue Legos are commercial. And I don't know if this was parking, but I'll say, is there parking in lot, right? But you actually assign that and you say, hey, you build, right? You build. So those are all that's like my pump to prime. I think a successful conversation would be nail down a couple dates so Bridget can just start working on dates, right? And just kick these around and, you know, and as a committee, vote on or decide which ones you want to do. If anything definitely speaks to you, we can start working on it, right? So you could, in 2 weeks, you could ask us for certain pictures or what have you. But those are, like everything else we do, we're just showing you things that we've done in the other community. If you guys do your own thing or a hybrid of this, please do. But the only observation I would have is you put people in the corners of the survey. You guys did it. That's what surveys do. So it's a great opportunity to say, instead of feeling like, oh no, we're going to make everybody angry by doing the comp plan. Now it's time to say, okay, how are we going to work for it? So.
But what are we gonna do them on? I mean, basically the center is pretty much built out.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't a lot that we can do in the center itself, and we've designated it as a growth area.
Mhm.
And the LD whatever is gonna even restrict us more
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Basically, Route 1 is built out with the exception of Skyline Drive. So when you really get a middle road has got potential, but really the only real area that you can fool around with this, as far as the commercial end of it, is really West Cumberland, because that's the only commercial area that we have is still basically raw land. I mean, there's no commercial stuff on the north side, very little left. So I mean, before we do these grandiose things, I mean, the big bear in the room is where the hell we put this affordable housing.
Right.
So that's got to be dealt with somehow in all this. And the other big bear in the room is what do we do with this rural zoning?
Yeah.
That we've got RR1 and RR2. And what's the vision on there within what LD 1829? So, I mean, we can have all these wonderful things of how we think, but those are the two monsters that are hanging out there.
The only thing I would say is you could tailor these exercises to everything you just said. Yeah. So to be really clear, and I think that's the danger in me showing some of the stuff. Yeah, totally. You guys could
focus.
You could pick a 4-acre lot and say, hey, what does a cluster housing, or cluster housing look at 4 acres? Like whatever fits you guys, you can do it. Yeah. I'll stop now. That's it.
I mean, I think you're basing that on what's existing today, right?
Hmm.
And, I agree with you, the easiest path to adding more commercial businesses or whatever are things like bare land or things that are already commercial. But nothing says that you can't like work a little harder or make some changes to, you know, so that if something, like if someone were to buy a piece of property that's available on Main Street and suddenly they're able to do something different that they haven't been in the past, or maybe even incentivize in some way, I don't know, but just, you know, I guess I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
you know, it is the way it is now,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
True. True.
Well,
So sometimes you just have to, think a little bit out of the box. You take John Chandler's property down there on Middle Road, which is a significant piece of acreage, across from NESS. His father's farm there, and you say, okay, what would you do if you maximize the development there with a mix of housing, shops, commercial use? Then you could take the Chet's property down on Crossroad, where the old train station was, Cumberland Junction, and say, all right, give me 10 acres and how could you redevelop something like that? And then obviously the Route 100 corridor is well, that's a third option. I think that people move into Cumberland Center, Main Street, if I want to, there's a reason they live on Main Street, that it's not likely to see significant change in short period of time. You might have incremental change. But I think if there's planning people, I think you have to look at something that gives you a little bit more bang for your buck.
It strikes me also, we can use these tools not just to consider housing options. For example, in our subcommittee, pedestrian friendly areas came up, so I could easily see making maps that say, where you want sidewalks and focusing that way. So we have to remember there are other non-housing issues we're also addressing that these tools could be customized for.
Yeah, I was gonna echo that because I think, you know, we're talking a 10-year plan. We're not talking, this is gonna happen tomorrow.
Mhm.
So what is the vision of where we're going? And, you know, if you've traveled anywhere, you know, across the country in other states, there are towns that are much smaller than ours that have a proper Main Street with commercial entities and apartments above those and parking. And then you step outside that zone, there's still sidewalks, but then suddenly then you get to the rural character of that town. And what fascinates me most about Cumberland is we're kind of reversed. We kind of have all these big ass properties right near town center. And it's not until you get out that you start to see the density increase, you know, so we've kind of flipped it on its head a little bit. So I think that thinking outside of the box and thinking about what is the possibility in the next 10 years of affecting the change that people are asking for in the survey.
I think another thing that would be kind of interesting to engage people with, and I got the sense from the survey, reading the survey results, it's easy to bring up a problem or point out an issue, but it's harder to think through, like, what are the possible solutions? What are the, you know, so if you, like, I love this, you know, like, let's just think about all these possible solutions to these, you know, issues that we're talking about, but also give people an opportunity to say, you know, what are some of the obstacles, you know, and I'm thinking just in terms of, like, commercial development. And I think a few people in the survey pointed this out. You know, we can't do that if we don't have a workforce. You know, that's one of the major challenges. You know, Rise is closing, so, you know, or closed, I should say. And it's like, we need to understand why businesses are struggling to make it work in Cumberland and really think about how the other decisions that we make impact that, you know. So I just don't know if everyone does that.
To that point, let me just ask a quick question. I understand that Rise is closed and the reasons given and so forth. Does anybody know why Wander opened so late this season? Was it staffing or was it just Other issues? This is not,
The developer
Right.
never intended to run the operation himself. It was always his, I'm gonna get it up and I'm gonna get somebody else to run it for me. So I know he's got somebody in there running it now. But I think there's significant issues to being successful at, I think employment.
Jesse, you were saying?
I was thinking the winter especially, like in the summer, everyone wants to sit outside and have a beer on the deck, but then
Yeah.
like the winter time it gets slow. And
Yeah, getting through January through February, March, we haven't been in business for years. Was our tough time, and you've got to learn to figure out, think out of that box. What are you gonna do? So, in my craft shop area, I says, I'm going after the weddings. And because the wedding shows are in January, for one thing, that's given me money for the flowers that I was renting great big bouquets for, like the church and the reception area and arbors, you name it. I was renting it and had a great business in it. But it got me through those 3 months that were extremely hard. So people have to think out of the box, and I gave Rise some ideas yesterday, actually, and people are liking it, but we had too many pizza shops going on in this town. Oh, no such thing. But, we need more diversity of businesses in this town. And while I got the floor, I see out of Blanchard Road, before you get to the fairgrounds, on the left, which is, I think it's still Fred Kenny's land.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's sitting, he's in his 80s. I don't know what his sons and daughters gonna do with it. But,
The brick house there.
that house has been, that house has been sitting empty for ages.
60+ years.
Yeah.
And, that's really got
The trail goes through,
empty.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it
Teresa used to live there, his
Yeah.
mother.
Snowmobile.
That's what I thought.
Snowmobile.
But anyways,
Yeah.
that's a good chunk of land there that, they keep haying it. Although this year it doesn't look like it, it's still got the hay bales from last year, so something's going on, but, he's lost his wife in the last few years and things changed. So, but Outer Longwoods Road is another, wanders out there now, but you got the other side of the street that's
Yeah.
all field, I mean, and that's a major route for people to go to work, just like Route 100 is. So there are areas around, you just gotta be thinking about it,
That
Where?
is a commercial area, by the way, down by the railroad tracks. That's zoned commercial.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
But, that's a lot of acreage right
Yeah,
there
that's-
before you get to the fairgrounds on your left.
Yeah, a couple thoughts about reaching out to people. One, everybody talks about rural character, and it would be great to just have an opportunity for people to weigh in, because like, I think even when we talked about it, is it like rural character, large pieces of land? Is it just hiding houses way back, having big setbacks? So you don't see houses, but like.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does it mean? Because
What
I
does it
struggle
mean?
with that
Yeah,
too.
people are-
What does-
yeah, people always-
Well, what's open space?
Yeah,
be?
it's
That's what
a-
we talked
Just
about.
be finished.
Yeah, so is it important, like, we've had that talk, but I feel like people bring that word up in the community, and so just giving people an opportunity to say like, is it important to you? And if it is, what does it even mean? Because then we can then try and give people some direction. And then the other thought I had was, I mean, I think looking at rural residential 1 and 2 is important. But we also talked about, the 500 acre, chunks of land, like the Rhine, Watson Woods, and the land around it is there. So I think it's important for us to, maybe have like Penny from CCLT come out. Apparently they have maps of both like protected land that's in tree growth, but like you can pay the penalty and develop that land if you want. So just to know, like, what is protected land in Cumberland and what could get built, like what is at risk? Some is very at risk, some's in tree growth. you could pay the penalty, pull it out. So just to think through that and then have people who care about those things show up. Like, I think that's a targeted opportunity for people who are conservation minded, because there are a lot of people in their 80s that own large chunks of land.
Yes, there is.
And either they're gonna get developed or they'll put them in conservation. So I feel like there's a generation of change coming, and then 10 years from now, we're gonna have to deal with whether they put it on the open market and it goes to a developer, or they call penny and put it into conservation, or what they do. And then my last thought, since I'm representing the school board or was appointed, I think reaching out to parents, I don't know if we know how many families with kids responded to the survey, but I think a few targeted events, just because often people with kids are very busy and don't have time to respond to a survey. They barely have time to make dinner. So piggybacking on some large school event where you could get, high school, middle, elementary, to get sort of those overall thoughts, if there were targeted thoughts we want to get from that demographic.
Okay, you've raised quite a lot there
Well,
in your commentary. I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag when I mentioned that both the land trust and the town had interns this summer who collaborated on what will be a map that shows town-owned properties and protected properties. And,
This is permanently conserved, but
okay, I didn't see what was behind me.
town owned is not on this one, but we have it.
so this,
Actually, Brian's is there.
But it's permanently conserved, but like
Oh, I see.
like
Just-
Twin Brook's
yeah.
missing, because it's not in conservation, but it is town owned and open space, but it's uninhibited,
Valhalla too.
right? Because it's not restricted.
Yeah.
Valhalla doesn't just stay a golf course.
if there was a way to sort of have that, maybe have hot paint or something, and overlay it over like a Google Maps, because there's a ton of land that is undeveloped,
Yes.
but not conserved. And just so
Correct.
if people have said open space is important, and if they want the town to pony up if it becomes available, whatever, right? Like, people need
Yeah.
to make that known, and which parts are important. Where are the tree frogs or whatever that we're supposed to be protecting? I saw one on the Watson Woods, actually.
Yeah.
One of the tree
We
frogs
need
that we were
to
told about. But yeah, just,
Balance.
yeah, so I think that information to get to people, like, we have protected land. Is there other protected land that's important or not?
Yeah.
Like,
Just a quick response to Bridget on Valhalla, and Peter and Bob, you have the longevity, I think, to sort of answer this thing. One of the things I learned or heard early on, that there was federal money involved in the purchase, which restricted the Valhalla parcel to recreational use, and that it could not be subdivided into residential use. Is that
Yeah.
consistent with what you guys
Yes.
remember?
Yes.
So it's not protected, but it's tied up federally, I
For
think.
rec uses, we could still, but we have commercial uses on it too, so I wonder how that works.
Is it deed restriction?
I think it was understood that there would be a clubhouse
Yeah.
to serve the golfers and so forth, and a very small piece of the entire parcel, but I don't think it could switch to something other than fundamentally recreational use, but maybe that's a research project for.
But I do think you're right that, because the years that Valhalla was bleeding money, and trust me, it was bleeding money significantly. We were losing $150,000 or $200,000, and we had a lot of pressure from the public. Oh, you need to sell it. But I mean, our attitude was that it was, besides the fact that it was federal, that this is open space. And it's one of the things that makes the town what it is, even though it's a golf course. So that the councils never had any desire really to do anything but keep it in the value, and it was the open space. But of course, now things are reversed, and Valhalla has been profitable for the last 3 years. So it's, but there is a debate in the fact that between the town and really the land trust, that we have spent significant amounts of money for open space. And I think you saw it probably skewed to the older people saying that You know, we've spent significant amount of money in the past on the open space, and maybe if it's a priority, it's something that the land trust should now take responsibility for and not the taxpayers. And if like the Turkey Lane thing where it required, I don't know, 75 or $100,000 to get it over the thing, that made sense. But the days of the, you know, significant stuff, the Ryan's Forest, the beach, the Knights Pond, Blueberry Hill, and all significant large pieces, I think the majority of the taxpayers feel on that we've spent the money that we need to on that, and those were the big priority items in our previous two comprehensive plans. So I think you saw some of that sneaking into the survey that you know, maybe it's not the top priority it was in 2008. Just random thoughts.
All right, I'll share some random thoughts. You know, in my perspective is, we need senior housing. We need continued housing, assisted living, nursing home care. We need workforce housing. Those are the two types of housing this community needs. We don't need more single-family homes. You know, we can talk about ADUs and we can talk about, you know, the new law that just got passed and how that'll affect us. But I think that the needs of the community really focus on those two things, workforce housing, elder care. And then I think the third component of what we visionary is, how do we set another block of land aside for commercial use, and where is it going to be most effective? We can say we want business on Main Street, but it's I don't see that change coming. People they're not coming here to work. They're leaving town to work. You know, there's a certain percentage now that works from home. And yes, the coffee shops and things like that are, you know, get out of Dara's. There's a waiting line. She's very, very busy all the time, you know.
They're not making a ton of money. Yeah,
No, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the restaurant
But-
business.
yeah.
But I think, you know, part of what we have to be visionary. You know, and you know, I'm only one guy that filled out the survey, and there's a lot of other people who filled it out. So in 10 years, we're gonna need more open spaces. In 15 years, we're gonna need more public space. We're gonna need an expansion of the library. We're gonna need all sorts of amenities that we don't have now.
New high school.
Give it a couple of years.
No, my kids, are not gonna.
You know, those are my short thoughts.
I just offer one thought, then I'll come to you, Kathy.
Okay.
On the commercial uses. You know, we do have, as you know, a number of commercially zoned areas. But I don't hear from people who say, I'd like to develop in Cumberland, but the zoning won't let me do it.
You don't hear it.
Do you?
Yeah.
For the zoned areas, are they saying that they can't use the zoned areas for what they have in mind?
Some of them, and we've made some changes to that.
Okay,
Yep. Yeah, so the most recent one that I can think about is along Route 100 and along Route 1, specifically OCS South, which is the southern office commercial along Route 1. It restricted residential development. So because residential was restricted, it makes it really harder for developers right now to even offer to put any commercial in, because the bang for your buck right now is in residential. So we offered a solution to that in a couple of our zoning districts to have 50% commercial and 50% residential. So to allow mixed use, to allow some of those developers who want to do mixed use developments to come in. The restricting factor that at least I've learned about is the finding commercial tenants is the hardest piece. But if you're able to pay the bills with the renters in a, like a second story, if you do like first floor commercial, second floor residential, being able to pay the bills with the tenants, the renters,
Yeah.
the residential tenants help as you're looking for tenants in the commercial space. So,
Okay. One encouraging thing on Main Street is that although we lost Fry's Pizza, we gained the Daily Bar, which is the smoothie shop, for those who may not recognize its official name. But somebody's willing to take a risk in a zone that did in fact allow it to be opened and developed. So we're not necessarily privy to all the economic factors that a given use is confronted with. And no matter how we tailor our zoning, we may not be able to meet their needs. Anyway, Kathy, I think you were next.
Another spot that people aren't thinking about is going down Blackstrap Road. If you've ever been down to Forest Lake, some of you have, but it used to be called Forest Lake Road. Now it's Goose Pond Road, but it's right there by the West Cumberland Methodist Church. So as far as I know, my cousin Gerald, which his nickname is Bub, owns Cumberland Salvage. He owns the house on the corner and all the land straight down to the lake.
Straight down Goose Pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Cumberland down through there. I
So-
mean, there was a housing development put in. But it's not a lot, but here you've got Cumberland Salvage, which is business. And you got all the cop boys moving houses. And so if we went down that left-hand side, I mean, Bob is getting close to 70.
No.
Yeah, he's my cousin, so I know about how old he is. So, and he goes to Florida every winter for quite a while. So, that's another possibility, he
For possibility for what? What do you-
commercial property.
Oh,
Sorry,
commercial property.
we
Okay.
was talking commercial, so.
It is a growth area right
Yeah.
now. So we have recognized it as such.
Yeah.
Yes, Nancy.
I have a question particularly for the gentleman and others who have been part of many of these efforts over the past about whether or not there's any history or analysis about another entrance and exit off of 95 and why not that hasn't moved forward. Because I think about the fact of workforce generally, not just workforce housing, and the pressures that people are facing throughout Maine. And I grew up in Lewiston and know that a lot of people in Lewiston are going towards Portland or Augusta or throughout, just in commuting to wherever that work is. And maybe chicken or the egg, but perhaps one of the reasons why development hasn't been occurring is the lack of available workforce for said development in existing commercial areas like West Cumberland, which would be readily accessible, more readily accessible with an on-ramp, off-ramp, for better or for worse. We don't need to debate that, but I was just curious. Is there history there?
We
we tried.
It's come up a
I can
number.
tell you, back in the 70s, my father tried, because we was growing at Allen's farm. And so Dad tried really hard
Mhm.
to get an exit open
Yeah.
there. And that was before
The
the playground and everything went
Mm.
in, of course.
Yeah.
That didn't happen until
Yeah,
middle
we
80s.
approached Peter Mills, probably, Bob, 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah.
West Cumberland, because though the restaurants are there and everything, so it's
Right.
relatively easy,
Yeah.
but, we were turned down flat. But,
We've since had another conversation and turned down wasn't quite so flat, but they did say it's probably 2050.
So you also have Yarmouth Lumber Trucking just over the Cumberland Gray line by the turnpike, Burger King entrance. I
Yeah.
don't know if you realize that's there.
No,
And I mean, they would rather use something nearby than going through Gray,
right,
you know, which is
right.
Yeah,
not
It's
easy.
easily done, but they won't, MDOT says we don't have enough traffic to generate.
Right.
Chicken or the egg. Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
also have the, paint,
Fascinating.
the sign paint shop right there by the Blackstrap Road Bridge, which is, yeah, could be.
There's two accesses going north and one access going south right now.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be hard to.
Yeah.
Facilitate.
I think the problem for the state is that at that location, you're within 10 miles of another exit north and south.
Yeah,
Right.
And the demand from Cumberland,
Yeah.
whether West Cumberland, strictly speaking, probably may not be high enough to
Mhm.
justify.
Yeah.
What would be
Well,
stated
West
federal money.
Falmouth exists probably because there's an exit there. But, you know, so it's like the chicken and egg thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like that exit there is why there's a West Falmouth, like shopping mall area. and,
True enough.
you know,
Yeah, and they built on some pretty hilly land there, the
But
Hanover.
then is the idea of being careful what you wish for, because with all the smoke relief arrangements and so forth, they would stand to lose the rec area, the fire station,
Yeah.
um,
I understand.
and
Understand.
cop motors and, other
Yeah.
places.
The plans I've seen have come through the, service center. Right.
yeah.
So it would come through, you'd put you out into like the neighborhood of Forest Lake and
Yeah.
Route 100.
Which marginal way on the backside. It's not very busy. There's a ton of walkers on there, I can tell you that. Bikes going down there that connects to Dutton Hill. I don't know if you've ever gone down through there. It's the backside of mile 56.
Well, Bob, you said something about that, which is probably true, given the cost of land today.
Yeah.
The only way really we can build affordable housing, that it really has to be on a town parcel, because really land is so expensive, and right now, the only thing really available, within the quote growth area is really the parcel next to parcel off Stiles Way, between the railroad tracks. That has been looked at before and probably will again, but like we were talking about with Fred's property, I think to build anything, and maybe it's one of the things that we've got to look at in the plan, is that if we're gonna do land acquisition, it's not for open space, but it's for congregate housing.
I asked the council last year to do an analysis of Stiles Way that included 80 units of housing in 10 buildings, a daycare, a train station with a shop, built over a multi-year period, and I couldn't get any consensus. I'll try again this year.
That's a great segue for what I'm about to say. We need to decide what our priorities are. And if affordable housing is a priority, we need to either say we're gonna do it or we're not gonna do it. And if we're not gonna do it, we should just stop talking about it. Because I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. And it's kind of like, we're either gonna think outside the box and we're gonna have big ideas and we're gonna engage with the town people and make that one of our engagements. Or we're not.
Well
You
said.
know, because if we just keep, I think everyone here sees a need for it. I think the survey identified a need for it. But it's the action that we never get to. We talk about it a lot, but we never get to something that actually is boots on the ground, make it happen. So,
I'll go to Jane first, then I want to come back to your point, Lorraine.
Yeah, just piggybacking off this and Jesse, maybe there's some kind of public engagement around like, what does affordable housing mean to you? What does open space, rural character mean to you? Can we get more granular about what those things are instead of,
Yeah.
Good.
I don't
We-
know, just
we-
kind of hot button
Yeah.
issues of like, no, yes.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
okay,
I
well, do
think
you
it's
want a
pictures.
field? Yeah, do you want a
Yeah.
field on the road?
Affordable housing.
Yeah, do you want
Yeah.
a field on the road when you drive home to work, but there's 30 houses that you can't see? Do you want, what do we, I just, it could be.
So if I could just interject
more,
real
yeah.
quick, is one of the things we could do would be, we could find you 4 different pictures of affordable housing in Cumberland County.
Yeah,
Yeah,
affordable housing.
Okay.
Correct. And then,
but I think what is open space, what is a really important thing to.
yeah, I'm just
flesh out,
showing, I'm just
yeah,
saying as an exercise.
As well,
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
totally. I'm
right,
just,
like-
but an example of, to apply this to what you're discussing. To get people to understand what affordable
Yeah.
housing is.
Right,
There's some pretty, really nice looking affordable housing out
Right.
there,
right.
right? And so you could visualize that.
But if open space isn't, I want the town to buy 50 more acres of forest, but I still want to like look at a farm field when I drive home and have, it would be fine if housing were there, but I don't want it to be in my face. Like maybe we could work towards solutions by getting more granular on these kind of vague.
So just to
Well,
give it some
Make any
context,
sense?
the Drown,
Yes, it does.
Drown Road ball fields.
I walk down Styles Way every Sunday with my dogs down at the orchard, circle back.
Yeah.
So I like the field,
Yeah,
but I'm willing to sacrifice it
yeah,
for affordable housing.
yeah. Well, maybe that's like the chips.
You know,
fee or
that's,
something.
that's,
Yeah,
Just a couple stats from the survey. So I know Valhalla is doing better, but of the survey respondents, over 51% of the people never or rarely use Valhalla. Okay, so it's a small percentage of people that are covering the cost of Valhalla. And then Drown Road ball fields where we were going to put affordable housing, right? Isn't that the location? 72% never use the ball fields.
yeah. Then it's like, but 55 plus people answered that.
Exactly,
Totally
exactly. I mean, we don't
skewed to,
have,
like,
yeah.
right
yes,
people
it's
answered,
demographics
yeah.
versus, but it's something to think about that, okay, so if we have a large or a small percentage of people that were using those ball fields because they have children and they're playing Little League, who was it that didn't want affordable housing? Just throwing it out there.
But then it's like, that maybe they wanted it looking a certain way, and if we could flesh out what that looks like.
Exactly.
Say, yes.
I mean,
that's
You know,
better than that, yeah.
we go through life stages.
Mhm.
You know, it's the amenities that I use today, when I had kids, lived at the soccer fields or the track or those sorts of things. When I was single, I was hunting up and down Greeley Road extension, things like that.
Horse and buggy.
It was a dirt road.
Yeah.
All right, just a couple quick comments in terms of definitions. We found a definition adopted by the town in the 1998 comp plan of rural area.
Yeah.
So we should probably recirculate that
Yeah.
and refresh and see if it still works for us. The state growth management law has a definition of open space. So that's
Okay,
controlling over us.
Okay.
So the terms are in fact defined, and we can talk about the distinctions from now until the cows come home and this, because there's so much overlap. But anyway, we can circulate that for the board's consideration. Go back, Lorraine, to your
right.
comment about, we talk about
Should have get
affordable,
off the pod.
affordable housing, but don't do anything.
Don't write
I will
that
take-
in.
I'm gonna take the longer view.
recorded.
We did develop Hawthorne Court.
Yeah.
And for the first time ever, we had town-owned, senior-only apartments,
Mm.
which have remained affordable for 30-plus years.
Mm.
We have 38 units of low-income senior housing, a stone's throw from here on Drown Road.
Yeah.
We have two smaller senior units, developments on Main Street. One next to the old Osgood Drive and then one opposite the dentist's office.
Yeah.
So in fact, we have, and we're not affordable units, but the Chelsea Way apartments are market rate, but very small. And so it gets close to affordable. So I would say that we have done something and we tried something big last year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we did try. So
Yeah,
Give credit.
I'm not throwing us all under the bus on this. I'm just saying that we have an opportunity with this comprehensive plan
Yeah.
to create a vision for Cumberland for the next 10 years.
well, that's the purpose.
And what does it, exactly,
Yeah.
and what does that look like? And if it includes affordable housing, we've got to put actionable steps in there and hold
completely.
people's feet to the fire that it actually happens in this town.
I agree completely.
I mean,
So,
I would
Kate.
just say I'm all for community engagement. I'm all for bringing people along rather than shutting them out. But at a certain point, for me anyway, it does get frustrating because I think a large part of why it doesn't feel like anything has happened is because when there's always a reason why it can't. There's always, and you know, people will come up with all of the different reasons why Drown Road, the fields didn't get converted into, it didn't look right. No, it's just, you just did not want it. Like, you did not want that change. You did not want whatever was going to be different. And so that, I really think that at a certain point, to your point, I think we can craft a vision. We can say, maybe you don't have all of the, pieces of the puzzle in front of you when you're thinking through whether you want affordable housing or not. You're saying, I just want that pretty field to look the way it's always looked, and that's going to impact me personally. And I'm not thinking about the fact that the people who live there might be able to mow my lawn or, take care of me when I need, someone to get my groceries for me or something, whatever. They're not thinking about it that way, but they should be, because that's frankly part of our problem in this town is that there just aren't
Complain about the taxes.
there isn't enough diversity of different types of people, different, so it's just, and so I just don't know how you change it until you change it.
The best thing I've heard said recently, I'm going to attribute it to the young man sitting over here, Peter. He said at a planning board meeting, sometimes we have to make decisions that are for the greater good of the community. And this is one of those, that we need to get on board. And there's others. I'm not saying that it's the sole issue that we need to, have the battle to die on the hill for. But I think that it's something to think about, that we are going to have to make tough decisions as a town for the greater good of the town. And they're not always going to be popular with certain segments of the community.
Right. I agree.
I have a question about process in light of the public information sessions. And I'm really looking to your guidance about, we've talked about 6 or 7 high-level priority topics. Getting people to focus and give high-quality feedback on more than a few topics is probably tough. And getting them to engage more than once might be tough.
Yeah.
What is your advice over these, was it 2 different stages?
I would say we're just
Public
in
outreach?
stage 2 is my thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll
Yeah.
probably do, I think the initial proposal, if you see the timeline, it's
Right.
six events,
Six
six
events.
public events that
Right,
don't have to all be in the same month. I mean, it could be over 6 months or 5 months or 4 months.
Right.
So 6 events, and I think what the question would be is, would it be appropriate for you guys to maybe narrow down what the topics are? Yes. So it could be a twofold thing, topic, exercise, right? So what are the 4 topics and then what's the exercise? Or if you wanted one more layer, what are the 4 topics, maybe cross it with a demo and then the exercise. And then so a way of like decision-making process as a committee, I agree, I think this discussion is just bringing out like,
Right.
what are those themes? The only thing I'd say, I forget your name.
Katie.
Katie, just because it's actually, it's related to this is, I think one of the important parts about a comp plan is nobody knows what a comp plan is, right? And then so when I'm mad about the affordable housing unit, somebody goes, well, it was in the comp plan, and they're like, I don't know what that thing is, and I hate it. I don't, throw it out the window. It's all a conspiracy anyways, right? So what you're really, the real end game here is in order to make these big bold statements, that you guys can say, look, we really engaged the community. We didn't just send out a survey.
Exactly.
But here are pictures of you guys in the room from a year ago. And here are all the dots, and that's all included in the comp plan. And so there's a strategic aspect to this public engagement, because you're looking for political will. And if you do it right, you can at least give yourself a little more political will.
I mean, I totally.
Super optimistic, but that's
No,
my job.
I worked in communications
Yeah,
for 10 years. I'm very, but it's also, I also know who you're more likely to get in the room in these things. And it's not necessarily the voices we didn't hear from on the survey. And it's not necessarily the people with all the good solutions and good ideas. It's the ones that have something to say or an axe to grind. And, it's like, yes, you want to do it with goodwill in mind and, and give people the chance to be heard in as many different ways as possible. But at the same time, at a certain point, we just have to accept, or we have to come up with a really out of the box idea about how to reach some people who are not going to be like, I think about all the parent friends that I have. Most of them, like we've all said, are really busy at this time of day. Most of them don't have the bandwidth for, an in-person, couple hour meeting. And the ones who do are really engaged, which is great, but they're either skewed on one side or the other. So I guess I'm just, don't want to get too wrapped around the axle, I guess, with the same feedback, basically.
We do have the fair coming up. And it's possible, and I know that Yarmouth did this at theirs, so they had a booth at Plant Fest. If there's one of those passerby activities, put on the sticky note what you love about your neighborhood, put your sticky note on the giant map we put up, or here's a sticker. Where do you want to see more development in Cumberland? Put it on a map. Like, we could potentially motivate, get a booth. I mean, like Wednesday bracelet afternoons, right? You're gonna get to those middle-aged children, families that
They want to be in the midway.
can't be here.
No.
Right, but we go to the midway.
Are the tokens, have you ever done tokens that are like actual jars?
Hmm?
And you just leave them up and
Yeah.
like have put your pennies in
Yeah,
the jar
totally,
and then
yeah.
you count the pennies
Yeah, and
later.
yeah. You could give them 25 cents and, 2 dimes and 5 pennies. So they could, there's all sorts of,
Like, could we leave them in town hall for 3 weeks?
I mean, that's up to Bridget, but yeah.
I mean, we left surveys too in town hall. For
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
And so I kind of like the idea of meeting them where they
Right, yeah,
are,
over there. Yeah,
because, and like, quick, and then we can't say, we didn't like try to get you, right? Like,
yeah, right.
What about November when we vote instead of pool stuff?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, our riveting ballot will draw a lot of voters, I'm sure.
Two referenda.
And then the other thing that I've seen, which is tricky or read about, but it's tricky in ours, is like a municipal government exercise that I would work with school on. And we would have to ask, where do you live? Cumberland, North Yarmouth, and we'd have to trash the North Yarmouth, right? I mean, trash in the nicest way possible. But to engage at a certain level of kids, elementary school, draw a picture of what you want your town to look like, to some different exercises with middle school and high school. If we can get in with, those social studies teachers and things like that. I mean, we could do that in the winter and all that, but just another get to different demographics. A lot of times If my kids don't necessarily come home and say, this is what I learned and this is what I did at school, but you know, sometimes they do.
And teachers are also like, I get emails from like my kids' teachers like every week with like, oh, there's this, like, do this thing or fill out this fun thing, or there's this, you know. So
What about
if
the,
you could partner with the schools and like have it as a social studies civics exercise, right? Like
Right.
the kids to get engaged and get their parents to engage in the town they live in about what they want it to look like. We had the entire fourth grade at the orchard, and many of them went home and told their parents, like, we should grow some trees, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
like, this is
exactly.
a important thing that everyone should be involved in, and very few people are. So
And we
I
have
like the idea-
parent,
I like the idea of getting the kids to vote their parents.
and we have parent nights coming up too. Not that we could get there in time, because they're like right in the beginning of September, but, or, you know, there's other ways to get to that bundle of people.
there's the parent, the Greeley Parent PTA, I don't, I'm getting the name wrong.
PTO, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of maybe engage with them to ask.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well,
Paul, did
so here's what, Jane, go ahead.
I'm still interested if I remember if the results, the socioeconomic status of the respondents was representative of the town or not.
Let me answer.
So
I don't,
important.
the question, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll totally bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be very like, did we just get wealthy people or did we just, I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems
Yeah.
highly relevant to these affordability conversations.
Can we know
Get
that?
old people.
Yeah.
Yeah. we
Yeah.
can just
They
get
don't
on
know
it.
that.
Oh, did we-
Call us old.
we did just get- make sure it's older
Okay.
adults, older adults.
Well, what I see happening in the very near run, obviously, is in 2 weeks, we hopefully adopt the publishable version of the survey results. Be up and available the next day. Well, no, it can't because it's Friday and it's closed. But the next Monday. But there could be something in that week's town crier saying that the results will be available shortly. And the crier goes out before we meet Thursday, because we can't say it. We have told it, but we can at least put a heads up out there. And then we ought to think about how much time we let the survey sink in before we go to the first public meeting. And then we have, then as you say, Bridget, it's sort of a, not a problem, an issue with the fair being late September and collecting with our second meeting night. Let's think about whether we should do a public meeting in September after the results come out. Or do we focus on our committee work for the 2 September meetings and then
Yeah.
go public?
I think in October, go public. I think we need time to really, we gotta put up maps to show people, maybe some other odds and ends, but, history even, I do want to share some history that I stumbled on about housing, doing a project on business, but, I don't want to interrupt you either, so.
Well, let me just go to the folks who have raised their hands here.
Yep.
Nancy, were you on
Nope,
that or was it Jane?
I wonder about if we had subcommittee conversations about potential topics we might surface to public engagement, and then if we brought those to the group,
Right.
maybe we could
Right,
then get down to,
Yep.
4 or 5 and talk about strategy. I mean, this is a great conversation, but we are, and it would be helpful to do maybe focus small group conversations.
and also in that last week in September, if we're going to staff a booth at the fair, that's gonna take some person power.
Yeah, and
In addition to the meeting night, we will have that Thursday that week. So I guess I'm leaning more toward, as Kathy said, the first public meeting in October.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I'd like to have maybe the first meeting in September, a more thorough review of the results.
Well, there will be a thorough review in
Like on
2
the
weeks.
28th.
on the 28th.
Okay.
Oh, we are gonna meet on the 28th because there was some conversation about not doing that last time, wasn't there?
What?
I'm gonna write a note to.
Oh, you-
Heard some people being like, maybe we should.
Was there?
I wasn't here.
Oh, you weren't here.
Yeah, because it's the Thursday of Labor Day weekend and we have the town lawyer that Monday and some people are saying
Correct.
maybe no one will come. But then I felt confused about.
Oh, that's right, it's the one before Labor Day weekend, right?
Thursday before Labor Day.
I felt.
How many of you are,
Anything we could
does
try
anybody
to-
know if you're taking off that early? Yeah, 2, 3.
Didn't I tell you people that you could take vacations?
Scott won't.
No, we don't need him sick today and he won't be out. He won't be here next meeting.
Yeah, it's less right.
Well, okay. So how do
Could
we,
be
when,
next-
right,
could
so
be
literally, when do we approve the publishable version of the survey?
Will enough of us come on the 28th or did we just? include it?
Well, who will be here? And let's see. I think we got a decent showing, and among the absentees tonight, we may have some who will be. here.
Trust you guys.
We can
Let's,
text people ahead of time and guilt trip them
Yeah, that's.
or call them when they're just trying to have a nice.
Maybe I should bring like lobster rolls or something.
Transportation.
We can grill a hot
Paul,
dog.
how soon in advance of the 28th would this finessed version be available?
I think we can probably get it out Monday or Tuesday, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
so
if
I
that
can
went
try to
out-
get to Bridget by Monday or Tuesday.
If that went out to those, to all of us,
Right.
but particularly to those who we know are not gonna be here,
Yeah.
that gives them at least 2 days to weigh in. And so
Can we-
it also
can we,
keeps us on schedule.
Yeah,
Send out a request to the, to everyone, asking them availability 28th.
Absolutely.
So that'll include the ones who aren't out here today.
Yep. That's a good idea. So,
I'm taking notes, I'm listening, just so everybody knows, I'm not just tapping away, texting my wife or something.
Yes.
on your email,
I
on your
never
list
do
of, email, you've got the open space.
Mhm. Real character
And
definition.
rural character definitions, and then for the, head check as to who's gonna be here for 28.
and just who didn't we get in the survey would help us focus our public engagement exercises also, so. just wanting to
Okay, I'll write that question.
drilling on
Who,
that,
like,
who did we?
The
who did-
broad question, who didn't we get?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everyone.
Okay.
Can we go door to door?
because we're saying, oh, let's target families, like maybe we got enough, we got some, you know. if it's- Yeah,
So we got, what, 1,200 plus?
1208.
yeah,
Great.
is it representative though? Like, can we say we surveyed and we got a representative sample, or did we not? And like, in what ways is it skewed? And therefore, how can we target our
Hmm.
community engagement exercises to capture the folks that didn't do it online?
Well, if we could, let's see. We know that folks in their teens barely responded at all. Question is, what percentage of the total population is that,
Yeah,
second?
right.
And does the 1208 of the remaining portion of the total of the population, is that a representative
Yeah.
Right.
percentage?
Right.
And maybe there's a industry standard
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like kids, people with kids, families,
Yep.
wealthy people, people who need affordable housing. Yeah, how does it map onto who actually lives here?
But the reality is, we're gonna be dealing, when we go public, we're gonna be dealing with people who didn't complete the survey
Right.
and who have an axe to grind about one thing or another.
Yeah.
And someone who really wants a karaoke bar, because that came up several times.
We give them a very specific job to do in our public.
That
engagement.
is something you can all agree on.
But that's why I want to get the version, the publishable version out as soon as possible. So that we
I
can,
want.
no one can tell us that we've been hiding the ball
Yeah.
until the eve of the first public meeting.
Right.
I, just for people's visibility, there was a forward request on the results, so that has been supplied to a member of the community. I think it's been supplied to your town manager. I don't know where it went from there.
Yeah.
So, you know, the results are there for whoever wants them. So just in case you were unaware. I will say in the FOA results, we gave them the spreadsheet, not the, so they just got all the kind of just
The raw
the
data.
raw data. I told you guys we got the raw, you guys got the readable stuff. The FOA request, received the spreadsheet, so.
Who's already making a FOIA request?
Yeah, you can guess.
All right.
Okay, so I have 28.
Okay.
We'll do a detailed review of the survey.
Yes.
Should we expect to do subcommittees and tasks with topic areas for more public interaction, or should we wait till the September 11th?
That's up to you guys. I think it's a good idea. I don't, whenever, but the workflow, it's up to you, but.
How long do you think you'll need for the survey report?
I think it's more you guys discussing amongst yourself. I mean, I'm just gonna give you the results, right? And Rick will be here to answer questions, but I think mostly you guys have had that conversation.
Let's plan on the possibility of a subcommittee breakout that night.
Great. And then we'll meet September 11th,
Mhm.
25th, and October 9th. Thanks.
Okay.
And, just what my takeaways were, the threshold or the questions that most people are concerned with is where they're under overrepresented demographics, whether that's family, income, age, all of that. And if there were, what does that look like? And that's what I was just typing away on. We'll try to answer that to the best that we can.
And then we can try to figure out how to target those.
Yeah.
people.
Correct. And then it's gonna be on you to kind of brainstorm on, hey, how do you plug that hole? Yep.
Okay, so we are thinking in terms of a public meeting in October. Topics to be distilled between now and then.
Yeah. That's
First through the subcommittee breakout process and then from the committee as a whole. So we have less than half an hour. If we stick to our schedule. Also on the agenda tonight is the dates for,
We pick like tentative dates so I can hold spaces for public engagement.
oh,
Is that safe to do?
I mean, sure, because you can always
Yeah.
release it, right?
Yes, if I can hold the space until we were ready to like release to the public, hey, we're ready. That is probably a good idea with school in session and activities going on.
yeah,
I can hold multiple spaces. I can probably hold this space and I can hold, the Hollis. Yep.
Yeah, we should definitely do some.
West Cumberland, I don't know, will be big enough, but I could hold.
Still,
it.
we should go, I know, Phil should go out there.
when
Yeah, we can. We just might need a
Oh,
bigger
yes, yeah.
space.
High school.
This
or
is an
something.
unfair question. Do you have a feeling from your experience as to how many people will show first?
Anywhere between 5 and 65.
Fair.
Well, so when we roll back the divider,
Yeah.
what's the capacity of the room?
I don't know.
If we are,
Probably plenty for 65.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I would think
there's
so.
that nice spot in the Geiger gym too, that we had the public something in.
Where the school board meets? Or,
I don't know. I've never been to a school board thing. We had
Oh,
like
there's the gym, the Geiger gym, yeah, the small gym.
we went in there for a public meeting on the turn lanes or something.
oh, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
that
see,
is the
what's
school
the
board.
rest of the gym used for now? Is it music? Is it,
The Geiger gym?
Yeah.
They use it for like a gym, shoot around, basketball.
oh, you're seriously? Oh, yeah.
It's changed off and on.
Okay. All right.
All right, okay.
So I would.
Do we do Saturday? Do we do nighttime?
The Geiger gym that I remember, or the Geiger gym that you
No, I mean, the old one is now the school board meeting room, but the gym that's attached to it.
1939.
It seems like maybe we want to target that to who we didn't get in the survey, Bridget. So maybe those are,
Maybe next time we. might be
I mean,
able
you
to
could just scattershot some things
That's true.
and we could probably trust you.
Let me check the calendars and see how they're looking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
okay.
then if they're looking like they're gonna get full, I'll just.
yeah.
Grabbing
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
Better to have it.
Yeah.
All easily holds 125.
Yeah, ready.
We set up a tent at Broad Cove since we don't have any public.
All upstairs?
Yeah.
Really?
We can meet outdoors at the Greeley Amphitheater.
Oh, there we go.
This overflow on the track.
you know, you gotta remember setting up displays. you
It's getting dark early though.
Okay.
Where did I just have that? Oh, Lord. Oh, yes. On the agenda, we have writing assignments. Do you want to say a few words about which topics will likely be covered by COG and which will be covered by ourselves? If
Yeah,
that's a fair question for you tonight.
Yep, I think it's totally up to,
Maybe, Paul, you can say, what do you anticipate?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up
the topics, yeah.
okay, so I wanted to pull this up again and I can share the link out again. But if you remember, I think I sent this out in July, but I did create, a Google Drive for folks who are comfortable with it. And it is, there are folders with editable documents, from the 2014 plan. So all of the chapters for the appropriate subcommittee groups are loaded in here as individual documents. So you have all that and everyone can comment on them. When we really get into it, if like subcommittees want actual like edit capabilities instead of just commenting and I accept comments, I can do that as like a subcommittee. But right now,
Get into it.
I'll send you the link. It's just through a web browser, so it's like Microsoft in a web browser.
Okay.
So I've got, right now, we've assigned population and demographics to COG and they've provided me with a draft chapter. It's there and available for you to look at. We haven't gone through it together as a group, which is fine. And then we have housing, land use, we've got, that's the land use committee report. We've got the sustainability chapter, recreation and open space, land use, housing, future land use chapters. Maybe land use jumps out as something we could start looking at, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think the short answer is we're willing to do any chapter that you just assign to us. So for instance, we've already done a first draft of the populations and demographics because we just assumed that would be one that's data driven and check it off the list. Doesn't mean it's our final chapter. But I would say if this is the housing land use subcommittee, I would imagine that some of the working groups moving forward would be to comment on these together using the comment function. And as you do so, looking to our staff saying, you know what, we think we're good with commenting. Now you do the rest, you do the rest, or you might determine, hey, a member of our subcommittee actually wants to do the first draft. And I think that we need to just start hammering some of those out. If there's some off the top of your head, that doesn't have to be today, but for instance, to Bridget's point, if you want us to do the first crack at land use, which we wouldn't start right now, but if that's what we did, then we would start doing it. But working sessions could be not editing, but commenting on. And then I think as a group, you guys will start to realize, hey, we really want to write this, or do we want to take the comments and leave it to the consultants to finish?
My opinion is that much of this has to be written in-house. That is to say, by us.
Yep.
There's a lot of it, for example, marine resources and a lot of resources that really hasn't changed, and that's scientific data. But other stuff is policy driven and futuristic, future directed. And that'd be the people who write those chapters.
And that's
So-
exactly what we're looking to hear. Like, if that's the primary approach, I think we're perfect with that. And then you just tell us which ones don't fit into those thoughts.
All right, so here's what we could do in 20 minutes. We could take 10 minutes and break into the 3 subcommittees and see who the writers are. Okay, for your topics.
Described.
You might not have enough.
Then we reconvene.
Yeah, we don't have enough.
I don't have to break it in a group. I just am going to annoy avoid.
Well, all right, maybe we don't have that many.
This is, I mean, these are also exercises too, like that you're bored one night and you're like, oh, I really want to read that and start putting my thoughts on like pen to paper. I want to start commenting on it. These are here and available for you. And you can go in and put comments in there. And then, hey, I'm going to put comments in there. Everyone can see it. So then other members of subcommittees, maybe you send them an email to say, hey, I put comments in there. Go in and put your comments in or something like that. So it's something that you can work on when you're not like in a working session together.
Can you show a comment just to make sure?
Sure.
Because I just feel,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no board on it.
Okay, so, all right, Nancy.
I just asked the question. I recall in the one exercise that I was able to attend with the breakout committee that you and I are on,
Mhm.
for instance, we were talking about, oh, some of this stuff is just so outdated, or the terminology, or just why did they use this? And yet there's utility in looking at prior chapters from 10 years ago because there's a cadence, there's an organization, there's certain things that we
Sure.
can leverage. So I'm struggling with the desire to draft. I think we all probably could write certain things, but if we have disparate chapters that all of a sudden are all very different looking, that's one thing. But if we stay so close to the 2014 chapters, are we hemming ourselves in a little bit and not being,
We
Great
won't know until we see some work product.
yeah.
I will tell the group,
I think that's valid. You tend to rephrase.
Just don't want to
rearrange the
regurgitate.
words.
Yeah.
okay, Jane,
In Paul's timeline, I thought writing was like still several months out. Is this
well,
need to nail down now relative compared to the public
you know,
engagement
it's,
piece?
the sooner you get started, I think the
Yeah,
better off you are, for the reasons I think that Nancy described. When you get into stylistic differences
Yeah,
and so forth, unless it reads like a good uniform product, it's going to be frustrating with the,
Right. I think there's a difference between having a template.
Right.
And then also just relying too much on something 10 years ago that
Right.
might not allow us to
okay.
really knock it out of the park.
So I'll just share with the group what I've done. I have almost finished the recreation chapter. I'm not saying it's my version, of it, which will then go to the subcommittee. As early as 2 weeks from now, if we get to break out that night. It's a long one. There's a lot of detail. Part of it is to show, part of it shows what goals of the last plan we did in fact accomplish. So people can't say that this is just a frivolous effort because you never do anything anyway. We have done an enormous amount in the land acquisition rec area in the past 15 years. And then, but then, so we'll get that circulated at least to the subcommittee. But between now and 2 weeks from now, all of you individually give some thought as to whether you, in fact, are writers and are willing to take on something, and what would it be? Which topic?
Fair enough.
And if you're really comfortable with some other subcommittee's topic, I guess it's okay to say, I'd like to do that topic. And, we don't have to, you're not necessarily just stuck with the 4 things that were randomly assigned at the beginning.
And then I think, and I'll speak for Paul since he's not here, but I think it'll be, part of my job and COG's job to make sure that it's consistent, right? Like that the voice is consistent across the entire comp plan, that it's formatted similarly across all the chapters. It's the content, it's the beef, it's the here are the goals and here are the action items that really need to be created. And then, a less of a worry, because I think we have that covered, at least on the back end, is how we're going to format it. How, is it all in the same tone? Is it all in the same, we can cover that piece. We can be those editors in the background.
Can you just submit bullet points?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I think so, right? I mean, I think that's valid. What's the goal? What's the action? Great. If you can't figure out how to put that into a sentence, we'll figure it out.
The goals and the action will be bullet points.
Yeah.
The narrative will be
Very comforting to me from me.
Got it.
of varying lengths, but
Have
but
you
it'll be-
seen my latest planning board packet?
All right, does that make sense as a, where we go from here sort of plan?
Volunteer leader, right?
Oh,
He's cool.
me?
Yeah.
Can I be in crayon?
Disappearing ink.
Yeah.
Well, anything else tonight for new and old business or just whatever's on anyone's mind? All right,
There's produce. There's Swiss chard, Thai basil, there's a zucchini or a summer squash, a cucumber, there's some shallots. Take what you want. Some of it's from my garden, some of it's from the CSA that I, purchase every week. So there's only two of us and we are way exceeding our 5.
And if anybody's got tomatoes, this afternoon I found hornworms on my sweet 100 tomatoes. I got 6 of them, so you better check them just in case,
Good to know. Thank
Yeah.
you.
because they can chew up some stuff.
anybody else have any thoughts for tonight? All right, then we'll plan to see you in, well, less than 2 weeks, on Monday, the 25th. It's a 5 o'clock start and a 2-hour potentially 2-hour workshop. Because the council will start its regular meeting at 7.
Interestingly enough, COG is giving a presentation.
Yeah, we are.
The same night.
We are. Yeah.
We are.
What time are we doing it?
Same time.
Is it? Yeah, I'll be to this one, by the way. Yeah. It was funny internally because I had sent it around and I said, hey, anybody want to join me? And they're like, Paul, we have our own. I said, I'm gonna go to Cumberland. What's that?
What are they doing?
LD 29. We're holding a,
Live streamed, right?
Yeah. but they're having it here too, but I'm going here. It's more relevant for what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Plus, it's good to get the, I'll hear ours.
Yeah.
Am I
So where are you
getting
going,
on
Kaylee?
that?